What consideration has been given to any liability a coach may assume in this situation, or quite frankly the school system may assume in this situation, if we are asking that the coach make a determination whether or not the student is able to go back into the game and participate after having previously determined to perhaps have a concussion? Should we be concerned about liability for the coaches that we haven't considered? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Conway.
Through you, Madam Speaker. That's a great question from the representative. No, the determination to return to the game, if once it's determined that there has been an impact, that a concussion may have occurred, that determination to return is, one, not for 24 hours. The coach doesn't have the option to put him back in at that moment, and two, only after receiving that determination to return to practice and or a game by a licensed physician. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Perillo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So just to clarify, what I thought I heard the gentleman say is that the coach would have to have some other sort of sign-off from a medical professional in order to make the determination to put the player back into the game or to put the player back into any sort of competitive atmosphere, whether it be practice or games or otherwise. So there's a second opinion required here. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Conway.
Through you, Madam Speaker, yes.
Representative Perillo.
I'm wondering, though, if that is inconsistent with the amendment before us, and I would refer the gentleman to lines 8 through 10 in the amendment, where it refers to that, and it says, unless such coach reasonably believes that such signs, symptoms, or behaviors are the result of an illness or physical condition other than a concussion. It would seem that the amendment is inconsistent with what the gentleman just referred to in the bill. Could there be a clarification? Through you, Madam Speaker. Could the gentleman clarify?
Representative Conway.
Through you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, in the event that the coach has knowledge and believes that the symptoms that are being exhibited were not the result of an impact, the player may not have even been involved in an impact on the field for anything to have occurred, but is exhibiting symptoms that are like those of a concussion, that the coach does have prior knowledge, whether from the player, from a parent, that these symptoms have been exhibited with this individual athlete, that he then be allowed to return to the game if the player felt he could return, but it not be attributed to an actual concussion. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Perillo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, and I thank the gentleman for the answer. If I could ask a question, is it feasible, through you, Mr. Speaker, that a player could be involved in an impact leading to a concussion and that the coach would not know about it? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Conway.
If the coach has prior knowledge that these conditions, the athlete has been exhibiting these conditions, maybe even prior to the game starting, that knowing that they're not attributed to those of a concussion, that the student athlete still be allowed to play in that game. But it's and through the training as well, it is going to be stressed that any impact type injury to the brain, that that individual be treated as if it was a concussion and is kept out of the game again until a licensed practitioner, medical practitioner, has approved him to return to play. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Perillo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Another question through you, and that answer concerns me greatly, but I'll get there. Through you, Mr. Speaker. How long, and not having listened to the testimony, how long do we expect perhaps that this class would be, and to what level of detail would the coaches learn about concussions, signs and symptoms, etc.? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Conway.
Yeah, the classes in the annual refresher training will be approximately 3 hours long. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Perillo.
Wow, just 3 hours. Okay. My concerns are many. We are now essentially giving a coach just enough information to be dangerous. We are giving a coach just a little bit about a concussion. We're telling him about the signs and the symptoms in brief, in 3 hours. And then we're turning that coach loose. And we're allowing that coach to make a decision whether or not, A, to take the student out of the game, which is scary in and of itself, but then B, whether or not to put that student back in the game, if indeed the coach believes that the signs and symptoms and presentation of the patient are not consistent with a concussion. I am concerned, A, about the liability that this coach bears in making those decisions, B, the liability the school system accepts in having offered just a little bit of training, but perhaps not enough to adequately inform the coach about the right thing or the wrong thing to do. And next, regardless of the liability legally, the fact that we're going to allow a barely trained individual, barely trained, to then make a decision whether or not a student should play or not play following a previously indicated symptoms and signs of a concussion. We're allowing someone to make that call and put a student out on the field, whether it be football or lacrosse or hockey, any contact sport, you name it. We're allowing that coach to put that student out on the field and say, hey, I think you're okay. Well, I don't think that's okay. I think we are endangering students by offering just a little bit of information. I think we are putting coaches and school systems at tremendous legal risk in doing so. This is not a decision to be made to coaches. This is a decision to be made to licensed medical professionals. And arguably, in offering a little bit of information, we're actually making the decision worse, because now we're now telling coaches, you are qualified to make this decision. You are able to decide when a student has a concussion or doesn't, or whether those symptoms are serious or not. We're giving a coach the license to make that decision and just a little bit of info to empower them to make what could be disastrous decisions for the physical health of students. And that is a real problem. I'm sure there is a reason behind this amendment. I'm sure this makes sense in some way, shape, or form. I don't see it. I don't see it. And I have further comments on the underlying bill itself, but I'll leave those comments alone on the amendment. And I would strongly urge the chamber to vote no on the amendment before us. It is a very, very dangerous situation for students and coaches and school systems. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.